In this week's Torah portion, Parshas Massei, which we read in the land of Israel alone, and in the outside of Israel, they're reading this week a double portion, Matos Massei. It talks about the 42 journeys that the Jewish people took in the desert after they left Egypt. They could have just made 2 journeys, gone from Eretz Israel, stopped by Mount Sinai, got the Torah and gone in. But for various reasons they didn't, and especially when they refused to go into the land of Israel. The Jewish people refused. And also they made the golden calf, which considerably confused the issues. In the end, they had to make 42 journeys in the desert. Some of them short, some of them very short amount of times. There were journeys that they were waited 19 years at one place.
So technically it would have just been 2, but because of all those
sins and errors and problems, yeah. 2, maybe it could be, maybe 4, maybe they would camp just before they left this, maybe. But nevertheless, 2, 4, but much less. On the 42 journeys, okay, let's go, Aleph. We're on page 64. 64. In my book, 64. Maybe your printing is different. Yes, 64? That's it. Al, on. A mem base, the 42 Masa'ot journeys. Sheba Parshat Massei that are in this Torah portion called Massei. It's called Massei because that's the first significant word in this week's portion. Elo Massei b'nei Israel. These are the journeys that the Jewish people took in the desert, and lists all of them. Omer Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov says, Shakulam, that all of them Mutsuyim are found, Eitzel Kol Adam, by every person. In general, this was the novelty in Torah Chassidut, namely to show that everything that says in the Torah is alive inside of us. And every interaction and every story that occurs is something that's very relevant to us right now, this day of the week. All of these 42 journeys, like everything else in the Torah, but especially these 42 journeys, are found by every single person. B'meshech, in the course, Shanot Chayav, in the course of his life. Sometimes a person has several lives. Right? There's incarnations. So a person finishes a few journeys here and a few journeys there. These are big secrets that only God understands. Asher Yatz'u Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that they went out of the land of Egypt. The 42 journeys are from when the Jews left Egypt. How does that correspond in a human being's life? The day that he's born. The day that you're born, you go out of Egypt. You're hidden in your mother's womb, can't see, hear, think. You're not an entity, an independent entity. The same thing the Jews, when they were in Egypt, they weren't independent. They couldn't see, they couldn't hear, they couldn't think about anything. Godliness. And they got out, they were born. That's the birthday, is the day the Jewish people got out of Egypt. Afterwards, b'meshech yemei chayav, and after that, a person, his life, shar masa'ot, are the other adventures or incidents that occur in a person's life.
Wouldn't it technically be if someone's birthday was the day that the Jews left Egypt, they would be on Pesach?
No, this is just signified. Oh. Let me just signify. Ad shehu bo le'eretz hachayim, until he comes to the promised land of Israel, means heaven, after he dies. So being born is going out of Egypt, and going into the land of Israel can be represented by the last day of a person's life when he dies. And in the middle, there are all these journeys that a person takes. things that happen to him, people he meets, incidents that occur, attitudes that he changes, things that he hears, things that he sees, things that he does, that change his life, sometimes for the good. And sometimes not so good. So these 42 journeys everybody takes, you want to tell me that everyone takes these 42 journeys? Well, some of the journeys were bad. Does that mean that everybody has to go through bad things in his life? That it was already predetermined you have bad things? We're going to see. Even though, second paragraph.
No one can have a perfect life. No
What?
one can have a perfect, flawless life. No mishaps, no mistakes, no errors, nothing like that. That's pretty much impossible.
Right, but to say that it was determined by God that this is the way it's going to be, that's sort of, how do you want to say, like a rat in a trap, sort of. Because we've got no way out. This is your fate. No good, the fate of good things, but why bad things? I thought God is supposed to be good. And it's already been determined that people are going to do. Let's look and see. Even though that among the journeys, there are Masa'ot, certain journeys, Shem Heipech Ratzon Elyon. Not only are they not good, they're against God. When the Jewish people made the golden calf, that's part of the trips. When the Jewish people complained they didn't have any water, the Jewish people complained about the manna. Those are all part of the trips. You mean every Jew is going to go against God? L'chaor, at first glance, eich efshar, how can it be possible, likvoa, to establish seder and order? Everyone has to go through these 42 trips, and these are the 42 trips you go through. How can it be possible that everyone in a seder chaya kol echad be'echad, that in the course of the life of each and every person, chayavim, you are obligated, it must be liyot inyanim, to do things shehem heipech haratzon. What are you going to tell? That everybody has to sin? Everybody has to worship a golden calf? Ooh, this does not sound too Jewish to me.
But everybody will sin.
What?
But everybody will sin.
Everyone will do something bad.
But nobody has to sin. Number one. Number two, I'm not sure that who says everybody will sin? Who says?
What do you mean
We
have
learned that everybody.
Here it says the 42 journeys. Everyone who takes the
What do you
4.
mean have to?
Who sinned?
Here,
Who sinned?
it's that's the Rebbe's point.
No one will have to sin.
Here,
Someone could do it completely by accident. They didn't have to. It was by accident.
here the Rebbe says that every Jew has to go through these 42 journeys. Some of these 42 journeys, he says every Jew has to go through them. Every Jew, you got to go through the 42 journeys. This applies to everybody, all generations, all time. Some of these journeys are the Jewish people purposely sinned. Now you want to say that we're going to have to go through journeys where we purposely sin? Maybe, yeah, could be. But it doesn't seem so Jewish. Huh?
It was inadvertent.
Inadvertent, that wasn't the journey. The journey was they did it on purpose.
I got a good letter.
Harei zem muven al pi biur Baal Shem Tov. So the Baal Shem Tov is going to explain this very, very deep and wondrous idea. Namely what? She ha masa'od, please be with me. She masa'od atzmam, that all of these 42 journeys that every single Jew must take, they are all holy. Ella, but Shahari Nitna Bechira, there is the essence of a human being, and especially the Jewish people, is free will. Everyone has free will. What does it mean, free will? You cannot necessarily be free of circumstances. You can't decide, hey, I want to be born in Italy. You weren't born in Italy. You were born in Chicago. That's it.
Say you're born in Italy.
You can make up anything you want to, but if you want to tell the truth, you weren't born in Italy, right? I want to be 6'7". I want to be 6'7". You can't do it,
Actually, you can.
huh? You have a leg transplant, huh? Put giraffe legs.
That's not a freedom of choice question.
Shahari Massei huhem hishtalshlu inyanim Heipech hatov. It could be that the way that a person interprets the situation, right? True, he has urges to do bad, but a person has free will, and he can take these urges and defy them. If a person makes the proper choices, and sometimes it might mean that he takes a choice against his nature, even against his own nature, that you have to choose life, and God also helps you. He gives you power and help that you can choose life. A person who's born a thief, and he has the talents of a thief. Not everybody can be a thief. You have to have an idea where the money is. You have to be swift. It says in Yom Yom, 7 things you can learn from a thief. Rabbi Mendel Futerfas said if you sit in prison long enough, you can learn thousands of things from a thief. A thief is a person, he's quick, he's brave, he's willing to risk his life, he's willing to keep trying, he works quietly, silently, right? He is
Student of this craft.
right. He's devoted to his task. So all of those qualities that he has in order to be a thief, he could choose to ignore. Right? He could choose to ignore. He could just say to himself, 1 second, I can steal, but somebody else is going to feel really miserable. I can steal, but this is against God.
So basically you're saying every thief is a sociopath and doesn't feel emotions for other people.
No, he just made the wrong choices. Whatever reason it is, he made the wrong choice. Ki Torah hari omeres lo ubacharta b'chaim. The Torah says you must always choose life. In other words, you must always use your free will. There's going to be a choice. As I call them masaot hein aliyot michael l'chayel b'kedusha. In other words, sometimes you're given an option to do a bad thing, and then if you choose the right thing, it's very, very high. There was a long, long story about a person that went in front of the Rebbe, and he said, I want to marry a non-Jewish girl. And my mother is against it, and the rabbis are talking to me, and they brought me here just to talk to you. You're supposed to convince me. So the Rebbe said, I envy you. I said, envy? He said, because every time a person has a test in life, a difficulty, and he has to make the right choice, is that raises him up in humanity. He becomes more human. He used his free will to choose values over pleasures, or values over peer pressure, or whatever. As I never had that test that you've got. But you should know that God gives you power to stand in that test. And therefore I'm jealous of you. He went. And after a while it ended up that the person, he decided that it really wasn't for the benefit of either one of them to get married, and he broke it off. But the idea is that yes, every Jew must go through situations where he is, influenced by his own nature, by the nature around him, to go against his own principles, to go against his own Judaism, to do things that he knows somewhere down deep it's wrong. And even if everybody in the whole world tells him it's right and everybody's doing it, but somewhere down deep he knows it's not that. Now, where is he going to get the power from to stand against the whole world and also to stand against himself? Who can do that? That's what we call a hero. Heroes get medals. Who's going to give him the medal here? The medal is that he gets a medal for being himself, for being true to himself. I'm sure you ever hear there's a saying, rivers and people become crooked by following the path of least resistance. Understand that? In other words, a river flows, goes straight, beautiful, all of a sudden it comes to a big rock, goes around it. Comes to a tree, goes around the other side. Right? Therefore the river becomes all crooked and goes all over the place. So people do the same thing. All of a sudden he needs a little bit of money, so he lies a little bit. He needs a little bit of attention, so he fakes it a little bit. So he gets what he wants, but on the other hand, he becomes a crooked person. Let's take an example, says the Rebbe. Mibein Massei Kavoros is Mibein Mevi et Amasa Kivrot Atava. The Baal Shem Tov brings an example. Please, this paragraph. The Baal Shem Tov brings an example that one of the journeys was called Kivrot HaTa'ava. Sham Kivru Ha'ama Mitavim. There the Jewish people were buried because of their lusts. She'enyano b'kedusha. This is the Jewish people. They lusted after the women. The thousands of them were killed. She'enyano b'kedusha or b'medrega nalit b'kedusha. This is very low. They're a disgusting thing. The Jewish people, the holiest people, they just talk to God. All of a sudden, they're all doing these terrible, weird sins. For what? It says a tremendous number of them died in a plague. That place is called Kivrot Hatava. You want to tell me that everybody has to go through this and we're all going to have to do sins and get buried and do all sorts of disgusting, right, the perversions and crazy stuff? Everybody's going to have to do it, says the Rebbe. No. This can be transformed to holiness. Okay, Herschel. Darga kazu she'en shayach bo tava. This is a level where he has no desire to do anything wrong. Lo rak shebapol. Not only actually does he have no desire, but ki im kivro tava. Not that his desires bury him, but he buries his desires. He kills his desires. Take an example, the thief, right? Just a simple example. Someone comes to you, right, and says, listen, I got a chance, we can break into some old lady's house. She's not at home. She went on a long vacation, and let's break in. You just stand by the door and just watch if somebody comes. If they come, you make a signal, and I'm going to break into the house and I'll split it with you. You get 1/4. What do you say? What do you say? Drop dead. What do you need? Listen, you don't understand how much money there is here. You'll get at least $100,000. Says, listen, do me a favor. Get away from me. I don't need the money. But you need the money. I heard you need the money. Hashem will provide for me. Leave me alone. I'm not going to take any chances. But there's other people, that's what you do, and that's what you do, and that's what I'll do. And maybe even Herschel will do it. But
I think he's fine.
Yeah, he's okay. But there are people that say, oh yeah, where is it? Oh, all of a sudden their mind starts churning. $100,000. I can get that new car that I wanted, that Corvette. And silk shirts, shiny shoes, new hairdo, big ring, big ring. That's for me. He already has it in his mind, already woven this whole big picture, how he's going to come striding into the club. We're going to say, hey, wow, where'd you get that bling bling,
Is he a pin?
Huh?
Is he a pin?
And where did you get that? The same thing, what difference does it make? Right? That's why these people do that stuff. Right? They walk in, hey, this is the man, this is the man. He's already got it in his mind woven. For that person to say, hey, it's true, all of a sudden, the whole thing says, I don't care. Says, oh, come on, man, now you're a nobody, you're a nothing, you're just another rat running around on the street. You'll be somebody. You'll have a car, everybody will look, spinning hub wheels and this stuff.
You'll be somebody.
A spinner, you'll be...
On the news.
No, even some people would rather that also. Some people would, at least he gets his name in the paper. I know a lady. I know a lady, very, very simple lady, and she had a son that was he was a criminal. He was a criminal. He sat in prison a lot. And once she came, there was a party in the family, and she was showing everybody that her son's name is in the paper. Look at this. And so this. And he got arrested. And She was proud. She was really. Her son's in the paper.
I've had my name in the paper, but it wasn't because I got arrested for anything.
Okay, so listen. There's different strokes for.
I got my name on Facebook.
There are some people that for them not to steal is turning over the world. Is a hero no less than a hero in World War II or the Korean War or something like that. I mean, just churning over themselves inside, maybe even greater. Because in World War II, in those places, the enemy is clear in front of you. Here, the enemy is yourself. It says, where does the power come that a person can stand against himself, against all this future, against the past, against what he thinks is security, against... But that's an incredible power. Where does he get that from? says that he gets because he had the test. The test rose him. No one wants a test. Everybody says, Loli di nisayon, we pray to God in the morning. Shouldn't bring us into a test. But if, God forbid, a test comes and a person withstands the test, right? Like I said in the class in the morning, that the people went through the Holocaust, some people became strengthened by the Holocaust. It's like a wind blowing on a flame that's a bit strong. It just fans the flame more, right? Like the Rebbe said, anyone who doesn't put on tefillin because of the Holocaust is giving a prize to Hitler. A person thinks, wow, I'm not going to give a prize to Hitler. On the other hand, he thinks, where was God? Why didn't God help me? What's going on over here? Why did I suffer? I saw everybody get killed. Why did this? To ignore all that and say, okay, I'm going to do what God wants, that's superhuman. That's superhuman for a person to do that. So a Jew should never be put into such a situation. But the fact is he touches something eternal. Says the Rebbe, that's the point. The reason that sometimes people are given these terrible tests is because in order to elevate them, in order that a person should be more human, to the point where he can even bury his desires, bury his stupid desires. Right? For that person who's the thief, that he should have an attitude like me and you, not to steal, that's different than us. That's different than us. By us, it comes naturally. I don't want to steal. Maybe you can say the reason I don't want to steal is because I'm a coward. Maybe I really don't want to get caught. Right? If you could prove to me 1,000,000% that I'm not going to get caught, and also that this lady has billions of dollars somewhere, she's not even going to miss the money, right? Maybe I could consider it. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Hashem should never put me in that situation. Who knows what would be? I go home and think, especially if I really needed the money. Let's say I really need it. It's a situation sometimes a person has to come in contact with himself and think, who am I really? Do I really believe in these principles? Right? If you have a good excuse, we can see people that have good excuses, they're willing to do anything. If you have a good enough excuse, you'll do anything. Right? But there are some things that excuses don't work on. For instance, you can give me all the money you can give me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to eat not kosher food. I'm not going to do it. Right? I'm not going to hurt someone else. I'm not going to do it. No matter what it is, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, well, maybe this, maybe that. Right? It starts putting little doubts in your mind. To stand firm when you have a true principle that you know that it's true, that's an amazing thing. Judaism is based on that. Abraham became the first Jew because he stood in 10 tests. Not that he did 10 miracles or conquered 10 nations or wrote 10 books, enlivened 10 dead people or did some sort of... He stood on terrible, awesome tests that God gave him so that he wouldn't believe in God. Tests that proved that God is not good, he doesn't keep his promises, he's not... And Abraham said, you do what you want to, I don't care, I'm going to believe in God, I don't care what you say. I have my principles, I believe God is good. Maybe to me it doesn't seem good. This is very important. The 42 journeys, as they are in the life of every single person of Israel. Legabi, in regarding Hamasaot, the journeys. The inyanim shahayu kavar, that already were. Yudua, it is known. Ilu mehem notzru latov ve'elu lehepech. The things you've already gone through in your life, you can pick which things I benefited from and which things brought me down. Avabonogea lakan lahaba. But in regard to from now into the future, Hamasaot, these journeys, Sheyesh Adayim Lavor, that there still is to go to experience. Okay, Herschel. Nitinas of Bechira, we have free choice. Vatzivui, and the commandment. Lenitzul Kol Hamasaot B'Kavatov. What there was up to now, what happened to your life up to now, it's exactly the way it had to be. You made mistakes, you did wrong things, you did sins, you